The vengeful spirit of Abeni setting, a village bound by traditions in the heart of southwestern Nigeria, nestled between vast farmlands and thick forests, lay the peaceful village of Olowedu. The people of Olowedu were deeply connected to their ancestors, and they believed that the spirits of the dead walked among them. They honored the gods of the land with festivals and sacrifices, ensuring harmony between the living and the supernatural. Among the villagers were two sisters, Abeni and Morayo, daughters of the late chief hunter, Baba Adwail. Morayo, the younger of the two, was beautiful with dark, glowing skin and a smile that could light up the darkest night. She was kind, respectful, and loved by all. Abeni, on the other hand, was beautiful in her own right but bore a heart filled with envy. She often compared herself to Morayo and felt cheated by fate, believing she deserved more recognition and love. As they grew older, their paths diverged. Morayo was courted by Adigun, the wealthiest young farmer in the village. He had inherited vast lands from his father and was known for his generosity. He showered Morayo with love, and soon, they were married in a grand ceremony, attended by the entire village. Abeni watched in silence, swallowing her bitterness as Morayo stepped into a life she had always dreamed of. Seeds of jealousy for years, Abeni harbored her resentment. Morayo and Adigun had two beautiful children, Ife and Tund, and their marriage was filled with joy. Morayo's happiness was a thorn in Abeni's heart. She had never married, nor had she been as fortunate as her sister in finding love. One evening, during the annual Yam festival, Abeni sat alone under the large baobab tree while the villagers danced and celebrated. Her thoughts were poisoned with envy. Why should Morayo have everything? Why should she be left alone while her sister lived in abundance? Her mind became consumed with one desire to take what she believed should have been hers. A visit to the dark forest. Abeni knew that if she wanted to claim Adigun, she would have to go beyond ordinary means. She had heard whispers of an old sorceress, Iya Orogbo, who lived in the forbidden part of the forest. The villagers feared her, for it was said that she practiced the kind of magic that angered the gods. One moonless night, Abeni wrapped herself in a black shawl and made her way into the depths of the forest. Owls hooted, and the wind howled like restless spirits. When she reached the old woman's hut, she hesitated, but her determination was stronger than her fear. I have been expecting you, Iya Orogbo croaked, stepping out of the darkness. Your heart is full of envy, and envy has led you to me. Abeni shivered but did not turn back. I want Adigun to love me, to marry me, she confessed. I want Morayo out of the way. The sorceress studied her with knowing eyes. You seek to take what is not yours. There will be consequences. I don't care, Abeni said firmly. Iya Orogbo mixed a dark potion and handed it to her. This will bind Adigun's heart to yours. But you must first rid yourself of your sister. Poison her. Only then will this spell work. Abeni clutched the vial tightly, her fate sealed. The murder. The next evening, Abeni visited Morayo's home, pretending to bring a gift. She prepared a delicious pot of igasi soup laced with the deadly poison. As Morayo sat down to eat, Abeni watched with a sinister smile hidden beneath her mask of affection. Sister, I've made this for you, she said, her voice sweet and steady. Morayo, ever trusting and kind, took the soup without hesitation. Thank you, Abeni. You always know how to make my favorite dishes, Morayo replied, savoring the rich flavor of the soup. Abeni watched, her heart racing as Morayo ate, oblivious to the danger creeping through her veins. She felt a surge of triumph. Soon, Adigun would be hers. Her sister would be gone, and nothing would stand in the way of her desires. But as Morayo finished the meal, she suddenly stopped. Her face turned pale, and her hand trembled as she reached for her chest. Abeni, I don't feel well. Abeni stood frozen, her eyes wide with a mixture of guilt and triumph. She had not expected the poison to take effect so quickly. Morayo's breathing grew shallow as she slumped forward, unable to fight the darkness that overtook her. With one final, painful gasp, Morayo's body collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The vengeful spirit. The next morning, the village was thrown into chaos. Morayo's body was discovered by Adigun, who wept bitterly for his beloved wife. The news spread quickly, and the villagers gathered to mourn her untimely death. Yet, deep in their hearts, a dark sense of dread lingered. Abeni stood among them, feigning shock and grief, but inside, she was filled with cold satisfaction. Her plan had worked. She had taken what was hers, or so she thought. But as the days passed, strange occurrences began to plague the village. Cattle died mysteriously, crops failed, and illness spread. Whispers began to spread, and the villagers started to notice something strange. Morayo's spirit had not rested. One night, as Abeni sat in her hut, a chilling wind swept through the village. She heard a voice, faint but unmistakable. Abeni, she froze, her blood running cold. The voice was soft, like the rustling of leaves, but it was unmistakable Morayo's voice. Abeni bolted upright, her heart pounding in her chest. Abeni, the voice called again, closer this time. The air grew heavy, and the shadows around her deepened. Abeni's breath caught in her throat as she saw a figure materialize in the doorway, a pale, translucent version of Morayo, her eyes filled with anger and sorrow. "You took everything from me," Morayo's spirit whispered, her voice filled with anguish. "But you cannot take my peace." Abeni stumbled back, her knees buckling under the weight of the spirit's gaze. "No, Morayo. I didn't mean this." Morayo's spirit raised a hand, pointing directly at Abeni. "You have awakened my wrath," she said coldly. "You will suffer as I suffered." The vengeful spirit of Morayo tormented Abeni, appearing to her every night in her dreams and waking moments. Her haunting presence twisted Abeni's mind, and her once beautiful features began to wither. Her skin grew pale, and her hair fell out in clumps. The villagers began to notice the change, and rumors spread that Abeni had been cursed by the vengeful spirit of her sister. The final judgment days turned into weeks, and Abeni's torment grew unbearable. She could no longer sleep without seeing Morayo's accusing eyes, and could no longer eat without feeling her sister's presence beside her. It was as if Morayo's spirit had taken over her very soul, stripping her of her humanity and leaving her a hollow shell. Desperate, Abeni sought out the only person who could save her, the same sorceress who had given her the poison. Aya Orogbo, who had warned her of the consequences, listened silently as Abeni pleaded for mercy. "Please, Aya Orogbo," Abeni cried, her voice broken. "I can't take it anymore. The spirit of my sister haunts me. I'm begging you, undo the curse." The sorceress looked at her with cold, unfeeling eyes. "You sought power through treachery, and now you will pay the price. The balance has been disturbed, and no magic can undo what you have done." With those words, Abeni understood the finality of her actions. She had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The vengeful spirit of Morayo would never allow her peace. That night, as the moon rose high in the sky, Abeni's body was found by the villagers, lifeless, her face twisted in terror. Her death was not a peaceful one, for Morayo's spirit had claimed her as she had promised. The villagers buried Abeni beside her sister, though they knew that Abeni's soul would never find rest. And so, the village of Olowedu was forever changed. The spirits of the dead were no longer seen as protectors but as forces that could not be defied. The villagers knew that those who sought to disrupt the balance of life and death would face the consequences, just as Abeni had. The legacy of the sisters. Though Abeni's life ended in tragedy, the story of the two sisters was told for generations. It became a warning, passed down through the elders, reminding the people of Olowedu of the dangers of envy and the power of the spirit world. The village thrived, and the people honored their ancestors with even greater reverence, knowing that the spirits of the dead were always watching. And so, the vengeful spirit of Abeni became a part of the village's legends, a tale of jealousy, betrayal, and the consequences of meddling with forces beyond comprehension.